Good morning, everybody. We could all be seated. We will go ahead and get started. So good morning. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the University of Illinois College of Medicine, Rockford Service of Gratitude of 2025. My name is Dr. Faith Klein. I am the Anatomy and Embryology Course Director, and I'm not going to take too much of our time this morning as our students have planned a very beautiful ceremony. This is one of my favorite days of the year. The donors that we are celebrating today have given these future physicians the incredible gift of hands-on learning, and it has been an honor and a privilege to guide them through that process. So to the students, thank you for allowing me to do so. Thank you for always approaching our time in anatomy lab with an open and curious mind. Thank you for always showing our donors the respect and honor that they deserve. Thank you for holding yourselves and your classmates and me to the highest possible standard. There is nothing more satisfying to me than watching all of you learn and grow and transform right in front of my eyes. I'm so proud of everything that we have accomplished together, really everything that you have accomplished, right? And I just got to witness. I'm very proud of you. I have no doubt that every single one of you will become a kind, empathetic, intelligent, passionate physician. To the donors' families, thank you for your gift. Thank you for your loved one's gift. The impact is immeasurable, and we are eternally grateful. Our next speaker is Dr. TJ Webb, who is the director of the Doctoring and Clinical Skills course. Dr. Webb and the docs team continuously model what it means to deliver patient care that is truly patient-centered. They work tirelessly to pass their skills and expertise onto the students, and they have a profound impact on the students' growth into budding physicians. We are all so grateful for everything they do for the students and our community. So without further ado, Dr. Webb.
My name is TJ Webb. I'm a professor here at the College of Medicine and a doctor of family medicine and addiction medicine. And I'm proud today to represent the faculty and also incredibly humbled to be asked by the students to come and give the opening remarks. I think that most doctors are sort of a combination of pride and humility. Sometimes one of those things gets a little bit out of balance, and I'll let you guess which one. But for the most part, I think we're all deeply impacted by those two feelings. Pride because the skill and knowledge and abilities that we individually strive for in order to help our patients and our communities really does represent a lifetime of diligent and oftentimes difficult work and study. And humility, because at the same time, we recognize that the trust that is given us and the accumulation of that knowledge represents much more than many lifetimes of effort. And so today, I think if you ask any physician or even any of these medical students, they would be the first to tell you that we truly stand on the shoulders of giants. Some of those giants are well known to us. You can kind of list names like Hippocrates, whose oath we still recite, or Alexander Fleming, without whose discovery of penicillin, we would not be able to effectively treat infection. There are other giants who remained unknown for too long, people like the enslaved man, known only as Onesimus, without whose knowledge of the Western African practice of inoculation, Boston would have been ravaged by smallpox. Many are our own personal giants, mentors and teachers and guides, without whom we would not have been able to overcome the challenges involved in becoming a physician or risen to that high calling. My wife, a nurse by training, is a giant of patience and empathy and justice, whose shoulders are probably very sore for me standing on them for these past 17 years. I want to tell you about two giants that have left an indelible mark on me as a physician. The first is a woman whose name I never learned, and she was my first patient, the donor who I worked with during anatomy lab as a first-year medical student. From her, I learned more about the human body than I had been in the way of attaining knowledge either before or since. And years later, assisting with surgeries to help remove a gallbladder or a thyroid gland, I thought about those organs in her body, and I recognized the wisdom of a system that allowed me to learn first in a safe setting where I could truly do no harm, and the woman whose gift made that possible. When I was learning to listen to the heart or lungs, or later on to see into those organs with ultrasound or X-ray, I thought about the way that they were interconnected and the way that they function so intricately in 3 dimensions. Insights that have helped thousands of patients that I've taken care of since, and insights that would not have been possible if not for that anatomy lab and that patient. But even more important, I really think that that individual was the first person to impress on me the gravity of the work that we do. I remember standing there next to her body, for me, standing in the presence of death, really for the first time, and being overwhelmed not by fear, but really by her generosity. And in response, my gratitude. She was the first person who really began to teach me the sacred nature of the doctor-patient relationship. The second giant I want to tell you about is a man named Greg. And Greg was a lawyer whose best friend was a family medicine doctor. And that hit really close to home for me because unfortunately my best friend is also a lawyer. And Greg was quick with a joke. He was beloved by his community. He was an emotional giant for his friends and family. I took care of him during his last hospital stay here at Swedish American Hospital down the street. He was dying from a terminal illness. And during the week that I spent with him and his family, we laughed and exchanged jokes together. We told stories. We wept together as he and his family made the difficult decision to transition back to home in order to begin hospice care. Before he passed, his family called me, and they let me know that he had made the choice to donate his body to science. And the reason that was given was that Greg had spent his entire life helping people through his law practice, through his community service, and through leadership roles in his house of worship and his faith community. And he wanted to continue to help others even after he passed. So I, of course, thank them for that choice. And I really reflected on the beautiful symmetry that from my first patient, I would learn so many lessons that I would use to help Greg and to help so many others. And then I had the privilege of being Greg's last doctor. And now he was going to be willing to be the first patient for future doctors. And I thought that was really beautiful. The British author G.K. Chesterton said that education is simply the soul of a society as it passes from one generation to another. It takes a lot of different people to provide medical care. But as a doctor who takes care of patients and as somebody who teaches medical students, I have always felt and believed that the heart of medicine was really in that relationship between doctors and patients. And today we're reminded that that relationship is also a partnership, that without our patients, all of our skills and our abilities are really useless. And without them, all of the lessons that we try to pass on to future doctors really kind of ring hollow. It's one of the, I think, cruel ironies of this profession that our first and greatest teachers are also those whom we never have the opportunity to thank in person, face to face. So today we just want to say thank you to those who have passed on the soul of medicine and medical education to us through this really most profound gift, the gift of the mystery and the guidebook and the stories of their bodies. Now I'll welcome Tim Alberg, Clinical Associate with the Department of Health Sciences Education. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mr. Timothy Alberg. I've had the privilege of working with our M2 students over this last year. Around this time of year, we find many things to be grateful for and to give thanks for. Whether it's company or family or good friends, a special meal, or in this case, a gift selflessly given. We are all here today to give thanks to the families of the donors and to the donors themselves. We owe them a great showing of gratitude. As we learned from these loaned loved ones, We could almost envision a number of aspects of their life. From strong hands that teach us how to throw a ball, or enjoying their morning cup of coffee or tea, to the smallest of muscles that allow for emotions to be shown. From these good belly laughs that were shared, or a witty grin or a smirk that was given, there's so much that we can imagine. We know that these individuals enjoyed much of what life had to give, such as when they sat around the table with family and shared a meal. They read stories to their grandchildren as they tucked them into bed, and they shared these times and offered guidance or comfort in these times, and they supplied many sources of elation and sadness. The very same muscles that allowed for the laugh lines to form over a lifetime as joy was shared ultimately led to sorrow when their lives drew to a close. But even in this time of passing, you knew that your legacy did not end there. You had more lessons to give, a few more stories to tell. And that's what led to you and your loved ones to be the first patients to our students here. The ultimate act of selflessness, compassion, and courage. A decision was made to pass on a lifetime of stories lived to teach these last lessons, to teach, to give training to the next generation of doctors, and to have a final way that you can give and to grow your legacy, even in passing. As you have bestowed this irreplaceable gift upon us, we cannot begin to show our appreciation. You taught us not just what the body parts are, but how to treat our patients with respect, with humility, and with empathy. Lessons that will be carried into each of their medical careers. Your generosity will echo forward into every patient our students will someday care for. The impact of this gift is so profound, enduring, and deeply appreciated. To the donor that Dr. Klein and I worked on this year and worked with this year, we say thank you. Your gift and lessons were not lost on us. Even though we are instructors, the weight of the scalpel never gets any lighter. As we prepare ourselves to learn from you and to share your stories with the whole class, as an anatomy instructor, I have the privilege of guiding future physicians through one of the most formative experiences in their medical education, the study of the human body. This journey begins not with textbooks or lectures, but with the profound gift offered by individuals like you. I extend my deepest gratitude for that gift. As each of you taught our growing future physicians, we are able to have a small window into the stories of your lives, stories that showed your struggles with cancer, the story that showed the time that you had to have your gallbladder removed, the story that showed the worry when you had open heart surgery, the story of your knee replacement and you were finally able to walk without pain, the story of when you had your pacemaker put in. Thank you for sharing so many stories with us. We have learned so much, and we are growing into better physicians for it. For all of this, we say thank you. Without your gift, Without your giving, we could not learn. We could not grow. And for this, we are eternally thankful. Our sincerest gratitude. Thank you. I would now like to welcome medical student James Jin, who would present a poem entitled "Remember Me," and then lead us in a moment of silence.
To Remember Me, a reflection by Robert Tust. The day will come when my body will lie upon a white sheet, neatly tucked under four corners of a mattress, located in a hospital busily occupied with the living and the dying. At a certain moment, a doctor will determine that my brain has ceased to function and that for all intents and purposes, my life has stopped. When that happens, do not attempt to instill artificial life into my body by use of a machine. And don't call this my deathbed. Let it be called the bed of life, and let my body be taken from it to help others lead fuller lives. Give my sight to the man who has never seen a sunrise, a baby's face, or love in the eyes of a woman. Give my heart to a person whose own heart has caused nothing but endless days of pain. Give my blood to a teenager who was pulled from the wreckage of his car so that he might live to see his grandchildren one day. Give my kidneys to one who depends on a machine to exist from week to week. Take my bones, every muscle, every fiber, and nerve in my body and find a way to make a crippled child walk. Explore every corner of my brain. Take my cells, if necessary, and let them grow so that someday a speechless boy will shout at the crack of a bat and a deaf girl will hear the sound of rain against her window. Burn what is left of me and scatter the ashes to the winds to help flowers grow. If you must bury something, let it be my faults, my weaknesses, and all prejudice against my fellow man. If by chance you wish to remember me, do it with a kind deed or word to someone who needs you. If you do all I have asked, I will live forever. I invite us now to take a moment of silence, to honor our donors, and to reflect on their final act of compassion, and to recognize the lives they touched through their gift. Thank you. It is now my honor to introduce my colleague, Hunter Eide, who will deliver our opening student remarks.
Good morning and welcome. John F. Kennedy once said, "One person can make a difference and everyone should try." As a member of the University of Illinois College of Medicine Rockford class of 2028, I want to sincerely thank you, the family of the donors, for the gift that was provided to us. Your loved one's decision to donate their body to science has lasted an impact far beyond the anatomy lab. It has shaped our knowledge, character, compassion, and understanding of what it means to serve. Many of us have long admired the selflessness of organ donors seen on TV or in person. They can save up to 8 lives through the donation of heart, lungs, kidneys, liver, pancreas, and intestines. This act of generosity gives the gift of life. But this year, we saw in person through our classes that donating one's body to science is another profound way of giving, one that creates a lasting legacy, one that impacts each and every one of us. While organ donation saves lives in the moment, body donation taught us as future physicians how to save lives for decades to come. Your loved ones became our first patient, our teacher, guiding us through the very lessons in healthcare, teaching us to think critically, to dive deep, and to learn. Your loved ones showed us in the most real way possible that one person can and does make a difference, even beyond their lifetime. Their generosity will live on in each and every one of us, in every patient that we see. Thank you. Now I get to introduce our Bay 1, Haley Hulse.
Hello, my name is Haley Hulse, and today I'll be reading a poem by Jeffrey North, MD, titled The Greatest Teachers. The greatest teachers we could ever ask for were once among you and me. Walking the streets, going to work, making a living, and living a life. Probably very rarely thinking about all that we would learn from them one day. The greatest teachers we could ever ask for were once a friend to many, sharing a laugh, sharing a memory, sharing personal details, the types of things that only those closest to them would ever know. The greatest teachers we could ever ask for never even knew any of us. Yet they had the courage, the willingness to be there for us, no matter how early and no matter how late. They shared with us all that we could ever ask for. We were eager to dive in and to find out all that there is to know. The greatest teachers we could ever ask for were people we don't even know, but ones we knew everything about. They will forever be with us, still teaching and reminding us every single step of our journey. They were more than notes or lectures or presentations. They were the greatest people that we will ever have the privilege of meeting. I thank every one of them for the greatest gift that we could ever be given. Thank you.
My name is Charlie Stewart, and I'm representing Bay 1. White calla lilies have long symbolized rebirth and purity. Their elegant shape and bright, unblemished petals remind us of life's sacred cycles, the closing of one chapter and the quiet, powerful beginning of another. Today, that symbolism reflects more than beauty in nature. It reflects the incredible generosity of a person who chose to give themselves even after their final breath. By donating their body to us medical students, they have offered a profound gift, the chance for us as future physicians to learn, to grow, and to heal. In this act, their life is reborn, transformed into knowledge, compassion, and skill that will reach far beyond the walls of our classroom. Just as the calla lily blooms anew, their legacy will live on in every patient comforted, every life extended, and every family spared grief by the hands of a doctor that they helped train. There is purity in that choice and rebirth in its impact, not only on each patient we treat in the future, but also on us as a class, who are greatly humbled to receive a gift so special. And so, when we look upon the calla lily, let it remind us that the person's story did not end. It continues, renewed through the countless lives they have touched and will continue to touch in the future. I would like to invite Sochi for a remark.
Hello. Working with our donor made me reflect on how I may have once cared for him as a patient. The time spent with him made me realize the true beauty of the life we are given and the lives we will care for as doctors. Our donor may have been a patient and represented all those that I have cared for previously and that we will care for in our future. I thought of any memories I may have had with him if I were his healthcare professional, and I think about the possibility of him having his family and loved ones surrounding him when he was passing. And if that was not the case, we use the time we spent with him to honor his life. Each bay has chosen a flower that we will put in the vases up here up front. Each flower represents what us as students believed represented our time and sentiment and experiences with our donors.
Hi, my name is Ambika Sharma, and I'm representing Bay 2 as I tell you a little bit more about how our donors helped us become better physicians. Today, we're here to honor the individuals who quietly became the most important teachers we will ever have. When we began Anatomy Lab in January, I'm sure most of us walked in feeling a mix of curiosity, nervousness, and some uncertainty. And within that space, our donors became the ones who guided us through those moments of being an inexperienced medical student. When everything was new, our hands were unsure, and we were learning to appreciate the complexities and intricacies of the human body. And before this year, most of us probably only studied diagrams or watched some videos. But when standing at the table by our donor, we realized that learning medicine isn't just about knowing facts. It's about acknowledging the body as someone real, someone who once moved, breathed, laughed, and played, someone who lived a very full life, someone who chose to give us this profound gift without ever meeting us. There were moments in the lab that challenged us, moments that required patience, steadiness, and a kind of respect that you can't learn in a lecture hall. But there were also small moments of growth, noticing that your hands were steadier than the week before, finally understanding that anatomical relationship that couldn't make sense on a PowerPoint slide, or simply recognizing that you were becoming more comfortable in a space that once felt overwhelming. Those are the quiet transformations that shape us into better physicians. And what we learned in the lab goes beyond anatomy. We learned humility, we learned teamwork, and we learned how to show up even when we felt unsure. And throughout it all, our donors are the ones allowing us to learn. They held no assumptions of us, they didn't expect a thank you, and they had no way of knowing how much this experience would impact us. Their generosity gave us the chance to begin our training with a level of depth and honesty that nothing else can replace. So, to the donors and their families, I want you to know that you've become part of every future patient we will care for. Your gift will follow us into every exam room, every moment we pause before making a decision, and every time we have to remind ourselves why we chose this profession. We express our profound gratitude and commitment to carrying this gift forward. We promise that what we learned will stay with us not only as knowledge, but as a reminder of the responsibility and humanity that lies at the heart of medicine. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Emily Friday, and together with Nav Kaur,
we have the privilege of representing the gratitude of the students of Bay 3 for our donor. From our first time in the lab last January, it was important to us to always remember that the donor who would reveal so much to us about the form and the function of his body had lived a whole life. While we didn't know anything about his life, we recognized his humanity and strived to treat him with the respect that our first patient and all of our future patients so deserve, regardless of their path in life. So, to our donor, even though we didn't know you in life and we don't know your name, thank you for teaching us so much this past year.
I would like to read a poem from Ju Ree Jun, who is a physician and wrote about her time as a student in the anatomy lab. The poem is titled, Knowing You. I do not know all the paths you chose to walk down in life, but I have felt the fibers of all the muscles that carried you there. I do not know what made your heart burst with love, but I have pictured how the blood flowed through the 4 chambers of your heart. I do not know what life dreams you had, but I have traced your nerves to see how it was possible for your brain to realize them. I do not know what moments in your life made you sigh with relief or in despair, but I have touched the lungs that held your breath. I do not know how many hands you lovingly held in yours, but I have felt the strength of each of your fingers. I do not know the beauty and brokenness you witnessed in your lifetime, but I have seen how you were able to see it all. I do not know what nourished and nurtured you, but I have met all your organs that worked hard to sustain you. I do not know your name, but before you left, you gave me permission to uncover the miracle of the human body through you. You gave me the gift of knowing you. Thank you.
Hi, I am Kate Wilkinson, and today I will be representing Bay 4 as we honor those who we learned so much from over the past year. A little over a year ago, our class began our journey to becoming physicians by standing in this very room and speaking a sacred oath. Many of us here are familiar with its tenets: a lasting commitment to learning and growth, to honoring patient autonomy and integrity, to assuring well-being, and to doing no harm, to name just a few. Through our donors' beautifully generous act of giving, they, our very first patients, wordlessly offered their faith in us as learners and as future physicians. Because of their contribution, we have grown in our commitment to go kindly and compassionately, to invest ourselves wholeheartedly in our learning, and to honor both the vulnerability and strength of those we serve. One of our fellow students summarized it best when she said, "It was humbling to recognize that this experience was made possible through the generosity of those who donated their bodies, transforming their final act into a lasting gift for our education." Another classmate of ours said so well that as we learned, every structure revealed the complexity and beauty of our shared human design. As we reflect on this great gift, we recognize that we learned from those whose arms and hands embraced loved ones, whose eyes saw beauty and shed tears through joy and grief, whose legs walked family and friends home, whose heart felt goodness and love, whose lungs sang and shouted and whispered, and whose mind believed, experienced, and helped them show themselves to the world. We will forever be grateful to those donors whose gift was so selflessly given. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sophia Logan, and I'm speaking on behalf of Bay 5. Altruism is defined as the unselfish regard for or devotion to the welfare of others. Your altruism has shaped the lives of many future physicians, ones that will pass on your legacy of compassion and goodwill. Walking in as uncertain students, your devotion to educating us shaped us into empathetic and generous people, willing to set aside our own needs to emulate even a fraction of your altruism to tomorrow's patient. Thank you. Your kindness will never be forgotten and will live on through our actions. As Anna beautifully concludes on our behalf, though names left unknown, we held your heart in our hands. Your gift is lasting. You'll Be Okay by a loved one of a donor who is online with us today. It's been a year, a little more actually, since I held his hand, listened to his voice, since I sat with him in the ER, an extremely painful knee, in his hospital room after they flushed the infection. Over a year since he made my favorite quiche, since he asked me to finish making his signature meatloaf because standing was too painful. Over a year since we watched a sunset over a prairie, listened to geese raising a ruckus on the lake, watched ducks take flight en masse with no obvious signal. Over a year since we went to a concert at Cranert, since we had to leave early because his joints hurt so much. Over a year since I had to put a dish in the upper cabinet because he couldn't lift it that high. Over a year since we visited our grandchildren and their parents. It's been a year since I watched the hearse drive away with his body, of not knowing what happened after he left. It's been a year, a little more actually, since he told me, "You'll be okay." Thank you.
Okay, it is now my pleasure to welcome the ultrasounds to the stage, who will be performing the song Seal Lullaby by Eric Whitaker. Thank you so much for that performance. It was beautiful. And thank you to all of the medical students, right? Thank you all for participating today. To the loved ones of the donors who may be watching via Zoom, we appreciate your support for the anatomical donors who made such an impact on our students' experience, and we hope the ceremony brought you some peace in knowing that your loved one made such an impact on our students and their future. Thank you for your time today, and please join us in the Commons for some light refreshments.